Now on Coast TV News.
Policy updates at the Millville Volunteer Fire Company. What's been done since a hate crime was made public. Deadly flood details. We'll go in depth on the situation in Texas and show you the damage.
This is Coast TV News Midday.
Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Elisa Weber and welcome to Coast TV News Midday. We are taking a live look outside at Rehoboth Beach this morning. And Bob, we see a lot of people on the beach there. Still looks like a sunny day. I know we are expecting some rainstorms a little later on.
Absolutely, Elisa. And you walk outside, you can cut that air with a knife, that tropical moisture, all because of the remnants of Chantal heading our way. And we do have the potential of flash flooding this afternoon. That's why we have a flood watch, which means conditions are favorable for flash flooding. Millsboro, Laurel, back through Bridgeville, Andrewsville. This goes until 10 p.m. It excludes the coast. Salisbury, you're also under this flood watch until 5, and the Eastern Shore 2 until 10 p.m. Now we're looking at just cumulus clouds across Sussex County right now. It's dry through Salisbury, Ocean Pines. But then we get to the Eastern Shore. We're seeing the eastern side of the remnants of Chantal now from Drum Point up into Frederick area, Taylor's Island. Some very heavy rain here. And you can see the swirl across areas of southeast Virginia. That is the center, the remnants of what was Tropical Storm Chantal moving our way. And that combined with the heating this afternoon could definitely spark some flash flooding as we're watching that system moving basically right over the top of us as we go through time. And then as we go into 8 p.m. this evening, we're going to see the remnants of Chantal offshore. Mid-80s right now. It is tropical-like out there with dew points in the low to mid-70s. And we're seeing feels like temperatures right now in the low to mid-90s. And southerly winds at the present time bringing in all that tropical moisture. So as the remnants of Chantal move through, we're going to be looking at rain intensifying. Maybe a lot of rain in a short period of time. Maybe some flash flood warnings this afternoon and this evening. Here's 4 p.m. around Millsboro. We're seeing the rain, and then looks like it's finally lifting off the coast as that moves away by about 6 o'clock. But between about 1 and 6, really be vigilant. Have the Coast TV weather app for the potential of flash flooding. More on Chantal and what we can expect the rest of the week coming up a little bit later in the newscast.
Thank you, Bob. Our top story this morning, the Millville Volunteer Fire Company has made changes to its policies and offered new training. This comes after police say 2 former volunteer firefighters, Jay Droney and Jordan Hastings, chased a paid employee with a rope tied into a noose. Gary Canadas with the Millville Volunteer Firefighter says the swift changes were made in hopes of avoiding a similar situation from happening in the future. According to Canadas, allegations came to light on April 9th, and after an investigation, by June 1st, 100% of career staff and 2/3 of the volunteer members completed training. He says 2 changes are key to handling these issues quickly.
One is giving the board the latitude to work a little bit faster for particularly egregious incidents, and then 2, giving people more avenues and mechanisms to report when they see any sort of discriminatory or harassing behavior.
Canidas says the fire company will push forward after some reputation damage by remaining who they've always been, public servants. This just in, possible talks tonight in Millsboro. According to the agenda, officials will discuss a hotel tax ordinance. There's no word yet on what that ordinance would require. However, officials will discuss the topic at the town council meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. The District 20 special election is now under 1 month away. It's scheduled for August 5th. This comes after the resignation of former Representative Stell Parker-Selby following her long-term absence where she missed every single day of the legislative session this year. Democrat Alana Berry and Republican Nikki Miller will face off in that special election. Sussex County Republicans selected Miller as their candidate Wednesday. She lost to Parker-Selby by just 275 votes in the 2024 general election. Berry, on the other hand, beat out 4 other Democratic candidates on Thursday. And if you want to vote early in the District 20 special election, here's what you need to know. It starts July 24th through the 26th. That's a Saturday, and it'll be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's no voting on Sunday the 27th. It picks back up on Monday the 28th and 29th with those same hours, 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Then July 30th through August 3rd, that is a Sunday. Voting is at 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. According to officials, all of this will take place at Mariner Middle School. And for more on the candidates, you can head to our article on CoastTVnews.com. And with the summer season in full swing, the City of Lewis's maintenance team will be actively working throughout the coming months to complete parking lot and roadway maintenance across the city. Work will include curb painting, roadway striping, and general upkeep on streets, alleys, and public parking areas. To minimize disruptions and protect staff from peak heat, maintenance is scheduled, weather permitting, on Wednesdays through Thursdays and Fridays between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. In Central Texas, the tragedy from what's described as a 100-year flood is still unfolding this morning. Heavy rains are raising levels of the Guadalupe River to more than 20 feet in just 45 minutes, creating a wall of water that ripped apart everything in its path. At least 80 people died, most swept away in a raging current, and NBC's Jay Gray shows us how officials warn that number will grow today.
Like the floodwaters tearing apart the Texas Hill Country, the rescue and recovery effort here is relentless.
That is where our energy, our resources, and our attention are directed. Nothing is more important than bringing comfort and clarity to those who are waiting and grieving.
Hundreds of first responders working around the clock, going into the 4th straight day now.
The Department of Public Safety is offering any and every resource that we have to help with those searches, whether it be boat teams, rescue, divers, helicopters, drone operators, drones.
High-profile military vehicles, thermal and night vision technology, crews combing the strike zone on foot, others on horseback. This team uncovering the body of a young victim in the debris.
We decided we should look in that spot a little bit more before we went back down, and that's when we found it.
We covered her with a towel.
At least 80 are dead. Dozens still missing, including a group of young girls and their counselor from Camp Mystic.
I think while it was going on, I kind of felt like a sense of numbness.
13-year-old Stella Thompson escaped. She and a group of fellow campers led out by the National Guard through debris, overturned vehicles, camp gear and clothes littering the trees, rescue divers in the water.
Saying it out loud is making me realize what actually happened and how bad it actually is.
A realization so many in Central Texas are struggling with right now. Jay Gray, NBC News, Kerrville, Texas.
Coming up after the break, crosses across the country will show you the project raising awareness for an issue facing veterans. What started with 22 crosses in June ended up with 660 of them along Route 1 in Lewis. This is an effort to spread awareness for veteran suicides. The nonprofit organization 22 a Day goes to different locations around the country, placing 22 crosses a day for a whole month, leading to over 600 crosses in the end. While some crosses remain blank, others have names written on them by people who knew a veteran who took their own life. 22 a Day Secretary John Lucker says those crosses will go with them around the country.
And we saw the reactions that the people had, especially when they saw crosses with names on them, and it was no longer a statistic, but a matter of life and death for so many people. Being able to contribute to saving lives is what keeps us going.
And according to Lucker, they plan to come back to Delaware next year in Millsboro to further spread awareness for veteran suicides. Coming up tonight on DSN, your game of the night at 6:15, it's Maryland Supreme Basketball League in live boys basketball. Then at 10:30, you can catch the final score. And on the DSN Plus app, games kick off at 5:30 with high school boys soccer at Crown Sports Center. Then at 6 o'clock, it's high school boys lacrosse at DE Turf. And at 6:15, Maryland boys basketball at Maryland Supreme Basketball League.
Blue skies giving way to clouds as the remnants of Chantal moving on to Delmarva. 84 in Laurel. Tropical air mass watching for the potential of flooding conditions this afternoon as we're watching the remnants of Chantal moving over the area where flash flooding is a distinct possibility with heavy rain. More on that coming up. Congratulations to Lisa Carlson from Seaford on winning a brand new umbrella from Paul Davis and CoastTV. More on the flooding threat and an unsettled work week ahead. Your forecast after the break. Looks like a lot of folks are taking advantage of the blue skies at the coast. Ocean City, gorgeous. Look at all those umbrellas out there. We're looking at 80 degrees in Ocean City. Very muggy conditions. Don't be fooled by the blue skies because we've got the remnants of Chantal headed our way, and that's going to spread showers and storms across the peninsula and maybe some tropical downpours as we go into this afternoon. So it's very important to download the CoastTV weather app in case we get some warnings and some flash flood warnings with local flooding expected. Very muggy conditions conditions. And then Tuesday, it's hot with steamy heat indices up to 106 degrees, maybe some severe storms into the evening with some damaging winds. But today, it's a flood watch, a watch meaning conditions are favorable for flash flooding later on. So we've got that across much of Sussex County, not the beaches right now, but until 10 p.m. from Georgetown to Delmarva, Bridgeville, Andrewsville, back through Selbyville. Also into Wycomico County, too. For Salisbury, heads up for you over towards Pittsville, but not farther to the east. Eastern Shore, you are also under this flood watch until 10 p.m. As we're seeing just cumulus clouds now across Sussex County, really big puffy cumulus clouds with the tropical air mass. The same for Salisbury back to the coast, but starting to see showers around Cambridge and then heavier rain now making its way across Chesapeake Bay. And we'll be seeing these tropical-like downpours moving in as we go into the afternoon. You can see the spin right here. This is the remnant low of Chantal continuing to move our way, and you can see that spin, and it's going to be moving right over Delmarva as we go into the afternoon hours. And once again, heavy rain flooding potential is what we're worried about with that. And then there's a cold front farther back to our west and northwest that could bring severe weather potentially tomorrow evening. But we'll see Chantal move over us as we go into the afternoon hours, and then it's offshore by about 8 p.m. and then moving out to sea. Very, very muggy conditions. In fact, very humid to miserable as we go through the next few days. So really no break from the tropical air mass as we have temperatures right now into the mid 80s, dew point temperatures into the mid 70s. That is that tropical air. It feels like temperatures into the mid to upper 90s and southerly breezes. I'm not really worried about the wind. It's the rain that builds in as we go into the afternoon hours. Here's 2 p.m. with those tropical showers. You start getting into these red areas. That could be the torrential rain that could cause some local flooding and flooding in poor drainage areas. You've heard the saying, turn around, don't drown. So really be careful this afternoon with the remnants of Chantal moving through, and then it's sweeping offshore as we go through the evening hours. Otherwise, it's muggy and warm through the overnight hours. And then into your Tuesday, it's going to be a hot day. In fact, a very warm start in the 70s and 80s. And then as we go into the afternoon, low to mid 90s, that's the actual temperature, and feeling much worse with the humidity. Then another wave of showers and storms moves through Tuesday evening with the potential of severe weather. In fact, we're looking at a marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow evening, maybe damaging winds, local flooding, and some large hail as well. And on top of that, feeling like maybe as hot as 106 as we go into the afternoon tomorrow. Then Wednesday through Friday, it's a stationary boundary pretty much stalled over us, meaning more on and off showers and storms and maybe some more localized flooding. And today we could see at least an inch or two of rain. The Weather Service is saying some parts of Delmarva could see up to 4 inches of rain just from today's rain alone. And then we're going to be tacking on more rain as we go into the rest of the week. Paul Davis, 7-day forecast, yellow alert today for that severe potential of flash flooding, and then 94 on Tuesday, perhaps some evening severe weather, and then on and off scattered storms Wednesday through Friday, cooling down into the mid 80s through the end of the week, and then mid 80s and still that chance of scattered storms into the weekend.
Thank you, Bob, and here's what you can look forward to this afternoon on Coast Life at 4.
We hope you enjoyed all the big bangs and beautiful fireworks on the 4th of July weekend. We're going to be talking about it coming up today on Coast Life. Plus, we're going to have a joke jar and Kendall Gordon getting out in the field for a little taste testing at Ponchos and Lefties. And also, you know her fashion. I'm not going to tell you her name yet. I'm going to have a special guest host, a guest co-host today. So tune in at 4 for Coast Life.
This just in, opposition to offshore wind could take center stage at a meeting in Ocean City tonight. According to the agenda, the city manager and Worcester County Director of Tourism and Economic Development will present what's titled an offshore wind opposition campaign. This comes only a few days after a lawsuit against U.S. Wind's plans for an offshore wind farm in Ocean City was able to move forward. Ocean City's council meeting takes place tonight at 6 o'clock. And a heads up for drivers near Milton, Webb Road will be closed between Gravel Hill Road and Shingle Point Road next week. Deldet says crews will be working on underground utility lines tied to the Four Winds Farm development. That closure starts Monday, July 14th at 7 a.m. and runs through Friday, the 18th. Coming up, the latest on where Americans are getting their shows and movies. A new survey shows most Americans watch streaming services and far fewer subscribe to cable or satellite. The Pew Research study found 83% tune into streaming services, with Netflix and Amazon Prime leading the way. Researchers found only 36% currently use cable or satellite. Drivers should expect delays today as the Maryland State Highway Administration begins repairing 2 bridges in Salisbury. Work will impact parts of US 50 and Main Street over the Wycomico River. The agency says all construction is expected to be done by May of 2026.
We're seeing nice weather right now at the beaches, but don't be surprised as we see rain and storms and maybe some heavy rain moving in, with the remnants of Tropical Storm Chantal moving through this afternoon. Could see some flash flooding with some of that heavy rain. Call the Coast TV First Alert weather phone for your latest forecast, sponsored by Brockstead, Mandalis, Federico. Your very summer-like and wet 10-day forecast is next. The Eastern Shore is starting to feel the effects of Chantal with some heavier rain there, and that will overspread Delmarva as we go through the afternoon. Some of that rain will be very heavy. Watch for flooding. You've heard the saying, turn around, don't drown. You might have to do that today. And then the rain quiets down as we go into the evening hours. Paul Davis 10-day forecast, 94 Tuesday, maybe some severe weather into the evening hours, 90 with some storms Wednesday, and then on and off storms essentially end of the week, into the weekend, and into next week as well.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News Midday. For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app. And don't forget to join us for Coast TV News at 5 later this afternoon. Have a great day.